Senator Goldin.
Good evening, everybody. The bill you have before you is one that we passed last year. It simply amends our campaign expense law to allow for childcare as an allowable expense. In that, since we passed it last year and the Senate did not pass the House, but the Board of Elections has already put forward its own regulations about this, which they're in the process of reviewing, and anticipate that it will go into their regulations in the next couple of weeks or so. But, what this really brought up is a strong support for the idea that we should make sure that our campaign finance laws are something that allows everybody to run for office, and we remove barriers for running for office, particularly for parents of young children, which predominantly are women who have those child-caring responsibilities, but also to recognize that our campaigns are run by a lot of volunteers and people who will eventually feed into the pipeline of running for office themselves. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting childcare in every sort of way in the campaign world to make sure that the diversity of the people that we have running represents the diversity of our state.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Senator Goldin? Thank you. Treasurer Magaziner, good evening and welcome.
Madam Chair. I was saying earlier, you're probably getting tired to see me before this committee, but you have all the good bills this year, apparently. Maybe not all good, but many excellent bills. Yeah, right, exactly. Well, this is a great bill. I want to thank Senator Goldin for her advocacy on this issue, and thank you for all of the supporters that have gotten it to this point. We want our democracy to be as participatory and as open as possible, and so making childcare an allowable campaign expense is just common sense. As Senator Goldin said, this is about making sure that everybody, particularly women, single parents, parents who work 2 jobs, are able to participate in our democracy to the fullest extent as candidates and as campaign staff. I had an excellent all-female campaign staff on my last re-election campaign. I pride myself on having diverse teams in our office. And again, this is about opening doors and making our democracy truly accessible to everyone. We I believe already have this at the federal level for federal campaigns, so bringing Rhode Island in line with what's already done for federal campaigns just makes sense. So thank you all for hearing us. Thank you to the Senate for passing this already and for hopefully doing so again. And let's get this done.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for Treasurer Magaziner? Thank you. We also have Secretary Gorbea signed up, but I believe Mr. Martesian is here on her behalf. So if you want to come forward, we'd love to hear from you. And Hanna Stern, Steve Alquist? No? Okay. We need your seats. You're welcome to sit in the front row if you want to. I already made him wait. You might as well kick him out of his chair while we're at it. How about Randall Rose, Liz Gledhill? Jason, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jason Martesian, representing Secretary Gorbea. I won't take any more of your time other than to say the Secretary thanks Senator Goldin for putting forward this legislation, and hopefully this committee passing this legislation again this year. She believes it's important. She spoke before the Board of Elections. It's an important change. Many states are incorporating these changes across the country, including, as the Treasurer said, the Federal Election Commission. So without anything further, we support this legislation and hope that the committee sees forward to passing it as well.
Thank you. I didn't want to steal your thunder before your testimony, but I had a meeting with the Secretary earlier before session, and she indicated that while she would like to be here to testify, that she had child care issues. So that's why she's not here right now. So I told her that I would make that clear for the record. And I'll also let her know that you forgot to say.
I did that.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Martesian? Thank you. Hanna, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Hanna Stern on behalf of the ACLU of Rhode Island. We thank Senator Goldin for putting in this legislation. Again, we're extremely supportive of it. The balance of family life and politics is always difficult, but is a very significant burden for women candidates, especially. Federal campaign finance rulings have already recognized the importance of allowing campaign funds to pay for child care, and we believe it's time that Rhode Island does the same. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to take any questions. questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Stern? Thank you. Liz, good evening and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I, too, am here tonight in support of this bill. I'm thankful to the sponsors for putting it in again. I'm here on behalf of the Rhode Island Democratic Women's Caucus. Our members stand in strong support of this. I wanted to share with you a quick story. In 2015, I ran for town council in South Kingstown. I had 2 babies when I decided to run for office, my son, who was just over a year old, and my niece, who was only 3 months younger. You guys met her last week when we were here for the parentage bill. My husband was working as a firefighter at the time, and he was often away for 3 or 4 days at a time. I was working part-time, but the bulk of my day consisted of chasing little kids around and maintaining a small farm that my husband and I had started. When I decided to run for office, I packed my kids into a double stroller and I knocked on thousands of doors. I delivered my stump speech with Cheerios in my hair and a teething baby drooling on my hip. I was determined not to let motherhood get in the way of serving my community in a way that was really important to me. As Election Day approached, I realized that bringing my kids from polling station to polling station in South Kingstown over the course of 12 hours was not only impractical, but it was unfair to my energetic toddlers. Without disposable income, it wasn't practical to consider paying a babysitter for 12 hours to watch 2 children. So I called campaign finance and asked if it would be all right to use my campaign funds to pay for childcare. As you know, they have the discretion to authorize these types of expenditures, and much to my relief, they said it was okay to do. I wrote a check out to a caregiver who kept my children safe and happy on Election Day, leaving me free to get those last-minute votes. At each polling station, I greeted voters. When there was a lull in activity, I called residents who did not appear yet at polling stations and encouraged them to get there. I posted on social media, I met with local reporters, and I made sure I captured every opportunity I could to get to the polls, to get people to the polls. But at the end of the night, I was victorious, but only by 10 votes. My opponent, an older man with a war chest, who had been in elected office before, had no younger children to watch over, and had all the time in the world to campaign against me. But I still won by 10 votes. That's 10 calls, 10 hands I shook, 10 likes on social media, 10 voters I would not have had the chance to interact with on Election Day had I been chasing toddlers and changing diapers. Essentially, what 12 hours of childcare afforded me was quite literally a place in public office. Running for office should be an opportunity afforded to every Rhode Islander, not just those with childcare, disposable income, a stay-at-home partner, or those that are single. When the law disallows child care expenditures, the state finds itself on a very slippery slope, telling candidates for public office that parents and caregivers need not apply. When supporters make a donation to a candidate's campaign, not only are they giving them a vote of confidence on Election Day, but with that donation also comes trust, the security of knowing that the money raised will be spent consistent in a way with their beliefs and their campaign. Requirements of a winning campaign have never included cigars, wine, or expensive dinners on the Hill, yet those are allowable expenses. What is most essential in any campaign is time. The time to canvass, the time to network, the time to campaign. Childcare expenditures are expenditures of time. Making them allowable is tilting an already imbalanced playfield towards fairness and equity for all candidates running for office. I hope you'll pass this bill out of committee tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Gledhill? Thank you. That is the extent of the witnesses that I have signed up to testify on this bill. Is there anyone else here who wishes to be heard on Senator Goldin's bill? With that, Senator Coyne moves passage of Senate Bill 2273, seconded by Senator Lombardi. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The bill passes.